let's take a step back. Were you in the U.S. diplomatic corps?
No, I work for the Pentagon, the Office of the Secretary of Defense, and on Islamic culture, how to understand the Muslim mentality.
Okay. And did you live in the Middle East?
Oh my God. Years and years and years. I went to university in Iran during the early and mid stages of the revolution. I went to university in Egypt, spent galore years and years sitting in mosques and in let's call them restaurants, discussing the Quran. I used to be able to quote Quran wonderfully by heart, not as well as I can, not as well as I can today, but it's there somewhere.
On the panel that you just appeared on,
Yes.
you declared that it's anathema within Muslim culture to accept a Jewish state of any size. Is that right?
Yes. Once a area of land is conquered by Muslims, it's opened up to Islam.
Historically.
In Islam, it's Muslim forever. And the entire land of Israel, pre-48 mandated Palestine, was conquered in 636 to 637 CE by the Muslims. And so everything's Muslim. It can't be ruled by anybody else. It must be ruled by Muslims.
Is Spain an example?
Spain is exactly the same story. Southeast Europe, the Ottomans ruled it. Any area that ever was ruled on the planet by Muslims is Muslim.
Does it have to be ISIS who feels this way?
No.
Who feels this way?
Yasser Arafat believed that when he ran the Palestine. Abu Mazen believes that. That is Mahmoud Abbas, who runs the PLO. The Hamas constitution makes it very clear. I don't remember the exact article. Something tells me 136, but I could be wrong. But Palestine, all of Palestine, of pre-48 Palestine, is Muslim Waqf, what it's called, Muslim holy territory belonging to Allah. Muslims cannot give any of it.
You mean they're forbidden by their religion?
Yes.
Okay. So if that's the case, then when even this peace plan, which Americans are saying, or they're criticizing, well, if you only give the Palestinians more, then they would sign a deal.
I don't think that's what the peace plan is all about. The deal of the century is here's how it's different. In the past, everything was to get the Palestinians to agree to something. So the Israelis gave X. It didn't work, so they gave X plus 1. Then they gave X plus 2. The answer was always the same. This is front-loaded. Everything which is where the Jews are, no one's going to be kicked out of their land or where they're living. So the Jews get where they are living right now. The Palestinians have to do certain things to get the rest of the deal, which is they have to agree to demilitarization, and Hamas has to be demilitarized. Then and only then do we go to the rest of the plan. That's the way it's set up.
What would happen if the Palestinians don't live up to what their expectations are under this plan? Because they've rejected it on its face.
Oh, it's really simple. Israel gets front-loaded everything that they agree on the lands where the Jews live. It gets E1, which is the area between Ma'ale Adumim and Jerusalem, which will give complete surrounding of Jerusalem to the Jews. It gets all sorts of things along these territories. It becomes Israeli sovereignty. It becomes Israeli territory.
So what would happen if any Democrat wins the White House in November 2020?
Well, that's why we need to get this done more quickly sooner than later. Once it's law, it's a different story. I'm not a lawyer. I can't answer that question.
But would you suppose that the next administration would undo this offer? I mean, it's not a compact ratified by the Congress.
Well, I don't know how it could do that. That's for the lawyers to work out. But if the area is already under Israeli sovereignty, how do you go back on that?
But according to the timetable, isn't it a 4-year plan?
No, the Palestinians, for the annexation is right, it's immediate after the borders are determined, which can take only 2 or 3 months. But the Palestinians have 4 years to accept the whole plan, or else we go back to square one, not from where we are now, but where we will be after Israel has annexed all the rest of the territories that the deal gives them.
Okay, that's good. I mean, there's certainly, a follow-up. Like, well, what if the Arabs haven't accepted the plan? They haven't accepted.
It doesn't. In the past, they had a veto. They no longer have a veto. Israel gets front-loaded up front. It gets all the things that are in the plan, which is all lands where there are Jewish towns and villages. They're not settlements. Tel Aviv is, by that definition, the word settlement. Tel Aviv, from a Muslim point of view, is as much a settlement as is Bet El, Efrat, Shiloh.
But if the Palestinians don't accept this plan, are they still essentially controlled by it?
Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because Israel will be able to annex all of these areas, and we're in a completely different area. It's before Trump was elected. There was a Jerusalem problem. There was the Golan problem. The State Department had, in essence, an embassy in Jerusalem to the Palestinians. That is now under the American embassy, the one in Israel. There are so many things that have changed. But this where we are today is the new reality. It's not what it was when President Trump was elected. It has changed so drastically, thank God. And there'll be a new reality after Israel receives all of the things up front. It's not important where Israel will receive these things, whatever the Palestinians say. Doesn't matter. And then we'll start from there.
So what do you think that AIPAC is still advocating for a two-state solution instead of backing this that the U.S. government is putting forward, which is good for Israel? The government of Israel wants it.
Well, far be it for me to understand the intricacies of AIPAC. This is Washington, and access means everything to these people.
Access to who?
Access to politicians, to White House, and under the previous president. Since if they didn't come up with what they're saying today, then they didn't have access to the Oval Office. In the grand scheme of things, the question that I would ask is, what's more important, access or the survival and security of the state of Israel? That they have to ask themselves.
Do you feel that the DNC, the Democratic leadership, is leveraging the access to Democrats, to Democratic donors towards AIPAC?
Well, Jews, by their nature in this country, have by and large been liberal, progressive, and whatever, so I'm not sure who can leverage what against whom. I think that what is so sad to so many American Jews is that their beloved Democratic Party has all these candidates which are very clearly anti-Israel. Yeah. It hurts them. And it hurts them that President Trump, who many of them loathe, is so pro-Israel. That's a dilemma that the people who are attending the AIPAC conference are going to have to solve.